Up next on the Elevated Podcast.
Tell me if this is a part of your story, right? You grew up going to church.
I didn't do that kind of stuff. I just thought we shout and fall out. And you can be 𝐒𝐲𝐿, Baptist, Pentecostal, AME, the ones they made up yesterday, whatever they are.
You graduated high school. Then you went to college and did some level of higher education.
But sometimes your Nazareth is too small for you.
Wow.
People who watch you grow up can't watch you come up all the time.
You got what people tend to call a real job, a 9 to 5, and then you realize, I don't know if this is for me.
Do you have the versatility to be in your field and do something different?
The traditional role left you feeling like you are existing instead of living life to the fullest.
If he can't stretch and be who he was, he can't be relaxed. So sometimes we have to have the courage to get another space.
But you're creative and you see the world from a different perspective. And you know deep down inside that you can do exactly what you're passionate about doing in a way that makes the world a better place.
People don't understand how much courage it takes to not be like the crowd.
Keeps you making good money and you get to have a ton of fun doing that.
If I have negative vibes, I cannot expect positive manifestation.
Listen, if that is a part of your story, don't you go anywhere. This podcast episode is the one that you didn't know you needed, but is about to change your life.
So whatever we're searching for, it's not out there, it's in here.
What's good, Elevation Nation, and welcome to the Elevated Podcast, where we provide personal development coaching to emerging leaders so that they can thrive in their inner tugging, their it. I'm your performance coach and host, Christian. Now let's go. Listen, today I have one of the dopest dudes I know to coach you through this episode, right? He's a husband, a father, a fifth-generation Baptist minister. He is the pastor of the First Baptist Church of Wayne. He is an educated brother who has a master's of divinity and a master's of arts from Princeton Theological Seminary. Look, as a widely published journalist, his work has appeared on Billboard, Forbes, MTV News, the History Channel, the Source Magazine, the Philadelphia Inquirer, the Hip Hop Collective at Harvard University, and so much more. Listen, he is currently a staff writer at BET. Listen, this brother is on TV, radio. He has multiple podcasts and web series. Listen to what I found out. I found out that when you type his name in Google, his face comes up on the first line of the search. Listen, this guy has interviewed some of the most famous celebrities in the business. Here to drop some major nuggets around the topic: living life to the fullest. Elevation Nation, please help me welcome to the Elevated Podcast, the Groveness himself, Rashad D. Grove. What's good, bro?
Man, hopefully I can elevate up to that level of introduction. Glad to be here with you. Nisha, man, it's exciting to see you.
Yeah,
Glad for the invitation.
Man, absolutely, man. I really appreciate you just being here, taking time out your busy schedule just to be you.
Of course.
And I know we're going to have a blast within this, man. So Elevation Nation, you guys know what we do. I want you to go ahead and go to the community section, the tab, and I want you to check out a question that we have there. Basically, we just really want to know, are you living life to the fullest? So answer that question in the community section so that we can move forward pertaining to this, because I promise you this episode is going to be like one that you've never seen and experienced before. All right. So you can like, subscribe, comment, do what you got to do. Listen, comment in that section. We want you to drop those mic drop moments. Basically, when Rashad or myself drop something that's just fire to you, I need you to put it in the comment section, because we want to fill this thing up with so much encouragement and empowerment of things that you're getting and receiving about living life to the fullest. All right, y'all ready? Let's go with this. So, bro, we go way back. All right. I mean, you were one of the best men in my wedding.
Same here.
Right? Yes. And we actually, we've done some business together. We traveled on the highways for hours.
And byways, highways and byways.
Right? Doing all types of stuff, man. Ministry. I was the best member of Holy Ghost headquarters. You would have to admit.
I forgot all about that. Oh, yeah. Yes, sir.
Yeah, and it's so much. I mean, I could really say, but for real, like when I think about it, bro, like I've always seen that you had an incredible like drive to tackle your dreams. And so, like when I look on social media and I see who you're interviewing, when I see how you going through schooling, and how I've seen how you just been on amazing platforms, travel all over the place. There's something in your heart and mind that just an area of excellence. You didn't even let me sit at some places to be like, nah, we're gonna go higher than that. It's always been about growing, being strong, and being all that we're called and cultivated to be. So, bro, I need to know, like, where did that mindset come from?
Man, that's a great question. I think just being in different circles,
Okay.
as you said in your intro, sometimes we could get stuck and fall under the umbrellas and labels at family who can be sincere, but sometimes sincerely wrong about us. When we finally get someone who sees something in us that's greater than we see for ourselves, I think we have the God-given ordained assignment to follow and pursue those passions. And that's as we learned in business, that's a small number of people. So
Right.
to be in community and find those people really helped me to really see larger uh, than where I was. So having people really see something within me really helped me to envision a larger world and vision for my own life, I think.
No, I love it. That's dope. That's dope. I really appreciate that too, because somebody's watching and hearing all the stuff that you've done. I mean, don't even know, half of your story and your
Mm,
journey. Like, I'm
yeah.
sure there's had to be like obstacles and different things that
Oh,
you've kind of dealt with pertaining to that. So, like that mindset, take me there. Like, what has it been that for you to keep pushing? Like, I'm sure you could have gave up. Like, nah, I'm not going to do this. Whatever the case may be. I don't view you as a traditional dude. Like, you were so out of the box, dope, just operating, but you there's nothing to box you in. Like when I see you flow freely. You operate authentically as you are. You know what I'm saying? So tell us a little bit about that and how that comes to be.
well, you were there for a lot of struggles that we've helped each other through.
Mhm.
And, the key to anything is how do you navigate adversity?
Hmm.
This is really keeping your enthusiasm from adversity to adversity. That's what I think.
Wow.
And even as a younger man who was young, married, uh, had difficulties, traumas, but always believing that this is always every exile has an expiration date. So
Wow.
that in mind really helped me channel me. I was a late bloomer going to school. I did everything. See, you read all the great parts about the bio, ugly, nasty stuff, all the tears and the self-loathing, low self-esteem. That's all a part of the journey too. But to navigate those things and to really have a belief in God and a belief in yourself that
Hmm.
we don't really talk about. I try to teach my kids this so they don't have to take the scenic route like how I did. I want them to have an utmost belief in themselves that
Hmm.
placed everything in them. They have all the inner resources to achieve success.
Ah.
And I was thinking, if I would have heard somebody tell me that years ago, who
Mm.
knows? But that's
Wow.
not my story. My story is supposed to be right where it is. But I
Mm.
believe that going through difficulties and really believing that those situations are temporary and you keep moving. One of my gifts, I'm not the best writer, I'm not the best interviewer. I am a fantastic preacher, I must say so myself. I don't know if we're allowed to say that on the podcast, but
You
that,
can say whatever you want,
that,
man. You go ahead.
that goes
If it gets
without
me in trouble, then Lanisha will edit it out. But you go
that
ahead.
goes without saying. As humbly as I can say that, but I think one of my greatest gifts is that I'm relentless. I'll stay up all night and
Hmm.
get it done. I'll figure out a way. I'll get up early. I'll stay late. I'll find a way. So I think that is kind of the engine that fuels me.
Wow, being relentless, a relentless leader.
Yeah,
Man, that's crazy powerful, man. Talking about the area of like even confidence when you talked about that. How important, like, well, the part that really hit me is the part when you're like, you want to teach that to the kids, but the self-confidence, the self-awareness. And Lanisha says something that's dope, and I've adopted as well. She's like, there's nothing missing, there's nothing lacking. So like
yes,
growing up with that mentality, even in church and everything like that, I always heard perspectives of like, well, you're a sinner, you're this, you're that, you're all these type of things. And it just takes you to an area where you feel like, like I'm nothing in a sense. But then I realized like, wait a minute, if I got God within me, like how horrible can I really be? And so let me process those things. So when it comes to the area of like self-love and confidence and different things like that, what was it that clicked for you? Because you grew up in similar situations. Fifth generation preacher. I'm sure you heard a lot of preaching and all those things and different things. So what shifted it for you?
I think really, which would having the courage to be myself and think for myself.
Wow.
Not to be so biblical like that, but when we think about the curse in the Garden of Eden, no matter how we see that, too many times I believe we operate from a curse motif instead of, as you said earlier, the creation. If God is the creator, we ought to be creative. So I got to zero in on not how bad I am, but when God looks at me, God says, "You're good." Are the songs we sing can sometimes really brainwash us. Often, when we sing, he coming out of Easter at the cross for such a worm as I. You sing that every Sunday, you don't even realize how much that gets in you. Never heard God say that. God doesn't see us like that. So I had to really eradicate I had to do a lot of unlearning. When we were in the greatest spot, even though we're not in the financial service industry anymore with Primerica, those were the greatest lessons that helped us on our journey. Yeah. Really, I never been in environments where people said, "Now you're great, you could do this." I was always had my lack affirmed, not my potential affirmed.
Wow.
And really seeing people do well and be themselves really inspired me to want to be myself. And really, one of my favorite writers, Dr. Frank Thomas, he has a book, and he talks about, he has all these essential churches in Chicago. He was at New Faith Baptist, then he was at Christian Boulevard in Mississippi. I'm talking about 8,000 members, but his real gift was preaching and teaching, and he was upset because he was conflicted. He didn't want to pastor anymore. In black churches, if you ain't pastoring, you ain't in ministry. So
he said it, y'all.
I know my tradition. You ain't got no. What are you doing? And he hit something for me and he was saying when he went and saw a spiritual director that he said, "What if God has multiple futures for you?" And when I heard that about 10 years ago, I was convinced that we serve and thrive under a God who has multiple futures. God doesn't just have one lane. We have so many gifts and talents and passions. We have a multi-lane highway that we can pursue our passions. And and that really helped me to really be like, we can try things. Yeah. So I try to live that.
So what do we say to, or what do you say to the person who's like right there, like, no, I grew up this particular way, but I feel like inside I do have some different expressions, some different influences in some areas, but they've kind of been boxing themselves in, right? But they got that peer pressure from the world, from other people, so forth and so on. Like, how can they break free from that place and that posture to be operating from a place of freedom?
Now you're going to get us all in trouble.
Now I'm going to get us in trouble.
But I think it takes courage. Maya Angelou says the most important virtue is courage, because without courage, you can't practice anything consistently. So it takes, man, people don't understand how much courage it takes to not be like the crowd. It takes courage to be entrepreneurial, not gifts. Everybody, I tell my kids all the time, everybody got talent and gifts, but not everybody has work ethic and courage. If you can master the courage piece to fall in love with yourself, not thinking too high or too low, but enjoying who you are. You're halfway there. Have some
Wow.
missteps along the way. You'll meet mentors. You'll meet people you'll meet colleagues and peers who are in the same functions. You'll find people who also are doing great podcasting. You'll find audio people. You'd be surprised who you find when you really start to go on your journey. So I would say to that person, you got to find your tribe, as they say today. It may not be 10 people. It may be one person. It may be somebody from far away that you connect with to help you break the chains and get out of those small boxes. I remember RIP to my dog Oscar. I had a small bed for him, and he would bark all night. Brandy told us he's barking because he doesn't have room to stretch in his bed. And if he can't stretch, he can't relax. And I took that to mean if he can't stretch and be who he was, he can't be relaxed and be comfortable and be who he was. So sometimes we have to have the courage to get another space where we grow and exceed. I'm always since you would know this story. It says Jesus, he's born in Nazareth, but all his ministry is done in Capernaum. But sometimes your Nazareth is too small for you.
Wow.
People don't like to see people who watch you grow up can't watch you come up all the time. Nazareth, Jesus saying, they know my mama, they know my daddy, they know my story, but I'm so much more than that. So I gotta find a Capernaum where I can stretch and be myself. So to that person, you gotta find your tribe, find that space. It may not be another zip code, but you gotta always have another zip code up here.
Wow.
Life.
Wow.
Just always believe that you can transcend where you are.
Wow. Wow. So what are some practical things that you actually have done to take you to that level? I know you're an avid reader. You're a hymnologist.
Of course. Yeah.
But I mean, some things. I mean, because you're relatable. You're real. I mean, look, if we throw you in any atmosphere, I'm pretty sure that you'll figure out how to go ahead and thrive or survive in that situation. So share some practical things that you've done to help you get to where you are.
Very kind of you. I am a big advocate on feeding ourselves. Now I made a transition during COVID. Now I find it harder to read now because I listen so much.
Audibles.
Walking, I listen to Will Smith's book, which is amazing. I'm big on inspirational stuff. I'm big on that. I'm big on meditating and being silent and thinking and having conversations, as my guy Michael Beckwith, Reverend Beckwith says, talking with high-minded people. I think that's crucial, man. Our energy and our words, man, we got to be careful how we release those things. So I would
take back your mind.
God, take it back. I love everything he does. I co-sign. One of the people I want to meet. I love him.
Now you're really gonna get us in trouble.
My church hear me say, man, I heard Beckwith say so much, hear me quote him so much, but really meditating and praying, those were things that we learned when we were in Primerica together. Really, I didn't do that kind of stuff. I just thought we shout and fall out. That's my tradition. But now, I got into Howard Thurman, who talks about you got to sit in silence and get in nature and get settled in here so you can attack or progress with whatever's happening out there. So we're big on meditating, big on affirmations, really on I'm saying things to myself.
Yeah.
Because I believe that, life and death is in the power of the tongue. I have to think properly. So big on those things.
Yeah. Sitting with self. Like that was the game changer, because I would tuck so much in my subconscious and I would just keep going with life. Just, you got to keep going. You got to keep doing. So when you had that time of meditation, like you got to sit with self and God within to really look at things, to process those things and let them flow. I think a lot of times we own what we feel, and I'm not my feelings. You got what I'm saying? Like I'm not even my thoughts. I have thoughts, but to allow those things to pass through, I just think sometimes culturally you became those things, you know. So the poverty mindset and just different things that we've gone through, and we're coming from this place and that place. Is like, no, it's not me. It's something I think, but I can let it pass. Like let that thing through, because there's greater to go ahead and achieve. And so I love the area of sitting with self and knowing who you are and knowing how you want to operate too. And as well as being careful what you let in your ear gates, your eye gates, and all those things as well, because that is so easy, man. It's so easy to go back or to be around that mindset. And it's funny because I think there's times when I'm like, man, what do I need to process? What do I need to do with the vision that I have, the heart, the mind, the things that we're doing and operating? Like, I didn't grow up seeing people operate the way that we are operating now. And I did think that I had to, at a season, just move somewhere real far away to do that. But now I'm starting to see, like, the only limitation is my belief. Like, don't that faith thing go both ways? Like, if I believe I can, like, cool, but if I believe that I'm not qualified or I can't do that or not, that's not for me, bro. You write for BET. The other day, who did he just interview? Who was he interviewing? Deion Sanders.
Oh yeah, look, he was dropping some jewels on me, and to your point, I asked him, did he think the people would embrace him going to Colorado and everybody cheering for him? He said, I never put limitations on what God could do. He said that to me yesterday. Wow. I said, oh, that was it. And you're so right. If you believe you can, if you believe you won't, you are correct. I had to learn that, you know, the manifestation, the spirit. Oh, you know, the energy. Yeah, man. If I have negative vibes, I cannot expect positive manifestations. That's not, and you can be Kojic, Baptist, Pentecostal, AME, the ones they made up yesterday, whatever they are. That is a central fact of God's universe. That's why, man, it's so critical for us to develop those skill sets, to develop those skills, develop those practices. It's no mistake that in the Christian tradition that we often overlook the part of Jesus that said he got up early and he got to a solitary place and he got some chill, because you can't produce any kind of miracle with inner chaos.
Wow.
He knows he got not just the people, he's got all these disciples. He's got his own stuff and baggage. So I got to quiet my soul first in order to engage. Yeah.
Wow, bro. Like, you are dropping so many mic drops just by the area of flow. Elevation Nation, if you're listening, like, for real, like, write this stuff down. Why? Because this is an episode. It's going to go away, but then you're going to have these real life situations. I love how God does it. He just gives us the opportunity to practice some of these things. So you have a dream, right? You have a call. You have a purpose. You have what we like to say on the Elevated Podcast is that inner tugging, like that passion. And I get that from Matthew 14 when, you know, Peter's out there and it's like, if that's you, like, bid me to come type of situation. So we got the water walkers, but we also got some giant slayers pertaining to that mindset as well on that David side. And I think it's something that is calling for the emerging leader in this day and time, Rashad, that I feel like we have to operate from that place, like that passion. Look, I love education. I love coaching. I love all that stuff, but it's something on the inside that's like, I need to go after that. And I think that's why I'm on this thing right now. Like, what is it that's inside of us that needs to come forth? So, Rashad, like, for you, what is it that you like with all your expressions in the earth realm? Like, what is it? What is that thing, that message that comes from Rashad that you want to go ahead and be seen and heard?
That's funny. I think everything started coming together for me when I can dial my long mission and purpose statement into one sentence.
Okay.
And it became to be, my gift is documenting the stories of Black people.
Wow.
And I do that through preaching, ministry. When I go visit people, when I got to pull on my robe as a clergy person, I'm documenting the stories of our church. I do that when I write into the history. I've got to write obituaries about people. So when that really spoke to me, because I said, that's what I do. When I'm talking to Deion Sanders, I'm documenting his story. When I do an interview, when we do this podcast, we're documenting stories. We're helping people with our stories so they can believe in their stories and expand those. And I think when I put that together, Brandy helped me to see I've always been a journalist. As a pastor, I'm a journalist. I love telling stories. If you've ever heard me preach, always got 2 or 3 stories in it. And she helped me put those dots together. Like, yeah, I'm a storyteller. And I want to tell great stories. I want to tell the story about God. I want to tell the story about Jesus. I want to tell the story about our communities. I want to tell the stories about great things happening uh, in the world of sports, in the world of music, entertainment, in our communities. I want to tell those stories. And that inner tugging, and Howard Thurman says, don't silence that inner spirit in you. He also says what I love. He says, don't ask people what they want to do, but make sure people come alive. Because what the world needs is people who are alive. And I believe, as you said, people can either live or exist. We come alive when we find our story, when we find our narrative.
Yeah.
And sometimes it takes us longer, and sometimes some people are blessed to get that quicker. Some of us, like me, you got to take the scenic route. But when you get that story, you got to protect it and guard it and share it and expand it. And I believe for me, that still small voice and hearing that, even when I thought, when I was a pastor, became pastor, I'm in seminary and all that good stuff. I'm thinking, that's it. I'll be I was on the PhD route. I've already been reading on this level, even when I couldn't get in school, when I was fighting my way through a community college. So I've always been a reader, so I know I could do that. But then, when Brandy was sick, and God was like speaking to me one day, like, is all that really worth it? Not saying the PhD wasn't worth it, but when we're sitting here going through chemo together, there are some things in life that are more important. And I was like, yeah, you're right. I hear this voice. I was saying, and I can still be a clergy person, be a minister, because that's a calling of mine that I believe I have. But that's not all. That's just how you said those thoughts.
Yeah.
If I accept the thought that says all I can be is a preacher on Sunday and minister during the week, that may be fine for some people.
Yeah.
But if we have more things to offer, I believe we're to explore them. You brought up David. David knew how to be an agricultural genius. He knew how to fight giants. He knew how to dance. He knew how to be a king. And first of all, he knew how to be a great mentee, even though he had a bad mentor. That's a word right there. Sometimes you gotta serve with someone who can't stand your gifts. Just the numerous hats he wore. When you look at the book of Esther, the hat she wore. Yeah. So we have, I believe, one of Marie Floro says, calls people multi-passionate people. I never thought that when I was going through barely graduating high school. I thought my destiny was to do this one thing forever, wherever gig I could catch. No, it's but when we start getting comfortable and sitting with self, you'll be surprised what we'll say to ourselves.
Wow.
I guarantee you the majority of people never had a conversation with their inner self. And then you'll discover who you really are. But that takes time. It takes that courage piece I spoke about earlier to really hear yourself. Because a lot of times we've internalized and materialized what people said to us. Haven't lived out what we've been saying to ourselves.
Wow. Oh, that's crazy powerful, man. You said so much, and it's so powerful. I agree 100% pertaining to that. Sitting with the area of self, identifying what it is, the stories that we've been telling ourselves, the things that we've been believing. And here's the funny thing, like I said this on this past Sunday, I'm not so sure it's about teaching people how to hear God as opposed to removing the things that are keeping us, because God's within. Scripture tells us about the area of ears to hear. We hear these things. I already can hear God, but what am I allowing in? And sometimes it's the belief or the doubt or the fear or the worry. For me, it's been years dealing with anxiety and different things like that, and the fear-based thinking, so forth and so on. So when you really sit with self, like I think people are afraid of it because we've been conditioned to think that you're going to sit and God going to tell you how horrible you are.
Oh yeah.
When the times when I've done, I can tell you for the area of really packed practice and meditation, the way you're talking about, probably for what, 2 years?
now I've been practicing an area of meditation. It's at a point where I understand when you say, well, in the body or out of the body, I don't know. Like, you just be at a place like, do I really got to come out and do it life? Like, to hear and see God in a different realm and way is so powerful for you to get that level. Like, so if you've never been at that place of meditating and praying and hearing God, like, I'm encouraging you to take the moment to sit with self, because then when you hear words, it's not about necessary revelation from an external perspective. It's the area of what God is speaking within. And so now it's just confirmation and affirmation, because I know him for myself. Who the man say that I am? Who do you say that I am? Right? Like, you're the Christ, because that was real within, that was revealed within me from that mindset, the heavenly mindset, not just a place where you go when you die, but the mindset, a heavenly realm to say, hey, what are you revealing to me? And for some of us, we're still living off of the revelation of just the Messiah. And he's like, I'm so much more than that within you, around you, amongst you. I'm not just this guy way far out there. I'm a God within, and I want to prosper you, and I want to show you things as a creative.
Yeah, I can't tell you how many times I've said that God is not a God out there. Jesus talks about the kingdoms within you. Believe it's already done. As you said, when you're in those meditative high moments, time collapses. This time, that's a construct we believe as humans, but God doesn't have a clock. Eternity doesn't have any watches, any devices with time. Everything is this. Wow. So when we get in those moments, I think it's crucial to really meditate and flow and really, get in those spaces where we can really, what helps us? It really helps us to free ourselves. We have no idea how much we carry around, not just stuff and the day-to-day aspects of life, but the energies and the old philosophies and thoughts that don't serve us anymore. Yeah. It may have worked in 2008, but it's a new day now. I was telling,
Lanisha laughing at you.
I was telling the church Sunday, as I was, telling the story, trying to set up my little sermon. And I was telling when I was in Jamaica, I was covering this festival. First of all, they wore me out because all they do, they don't go to sleep. It's like 8 to 8. Like, who has a performance at 8 o'clock in the morning? We've been so that was a work. Y'all saw those pictures. I was working, but I would say, like, tell me about Shabba Ranks and tell me about Patra. What's Super Cat? Because that's the Jamaican and reggae I grew up on. Right. And he said, brother, you need to update your references.
Ooh.
Said, update your references. What do you mean? He said, yeah, that was good in the 90s, but you got to hear the stuff that's happening today. And sometimes, man, life is always about updating our references. As we get new experiences, as we meet new people, we got to update those references. And meditation is got to be the central pathway to really help us meditate, to help us update our references.
Can you explain? Somebody's listening. They say, "All right, I hear y'all talking about area of meditation. Like, what is that? Is that like opening yourself up to something that is not godly, or that's something spooky or the demonic or anything like that? What is this area of meditation? Talk to us about that for somebody who has no idea. They think it's just the area of taking the word and just looking at the word and reading the word, and tell me.
I think it's various forms of ancient practice. Not only in the biblical tradition, Jewish tradition, and all the religions, especially coming from the continent of Africa, just sitting still. Psalms 1 for my people who really need that biblical reference. And, that person that says they meditate on the law day and night. So it's a continual, not even. So I'm meditating even when I'm walking around if I'm doing it right. I'm in this meditative state. So it's really silencing the outside to find out what's going on the inside. When I was in school, I ran up so many different gifts, and it's called the Daily Examine. You would love that, Christian. The Daily Examine, given to us by Saint Ignatius, and teaches you at the end of the day, you just sit quietly and you review your day. You sit quietly and review your day, and Catholic practice, and you just sit and you find the pieces that work for you, and you just build upon them. Those simple practices, I'm telling you, can really do some things, because we're taught, especially in American culture, we go. I'm a goer. I'm always doing something. So when we sit down and reflect, and when we be still and know. You can't know till you get still. So my grandma would say, just sit still. Boy, just sit down and be still. They were saying what you're missing is because of your movement.
Oh, that's another one.
Still, be still.
What?
Can't know till you get still. So whatever we're searching for, it's not out there. It's in here. Get still. So that's what I would say to folks. You don't need to go a half hour like Christian does every morning.
Yes. You know, 15 in the morning and 15 in the evening.
Get 2 or 3 minutes and work on that and get silent and have a conversation with yourself and your creator that you've never had before.
Bro, I love it, man. I love this, man. See, listen, when you hear the area that the title of living life to the fullest, right?
Yeah.
Have no idea that what is like that duck underwater, what's really going on, right? So you may be watching or listening, and you're like, man, yeah, man, I seen Rashad interview this person. I seen him doing this. I seen him traveling, doing all those different things. And first thing we kind of think about is, you know, who can necessarily open the door for me, or who can do this, or how I need to go ahead and that, and whatever this case may be. And I didn't hear any of that, right? You know, like I'm sure that that's favor and there's connection, but I'm hearing from you that once I really figured out like who I am, what I have, and I'm good with that, right? I'm good with who I am, and I begin to do that. I can attract. Remember we talked about the area of used to watch the Secret, right?
Oh yeah, man. Yes, man. Never. That stuff's still with me, man.
Yeah. And attracting those things and seeing those things. So it's not even necessarily about toiling, right? It's not about trying to force it to happen. But it's an area when I really sit with self, I identify that, I make this area, this decision. This is the way I get to express myself in the earth realm. And as I'm getting ready to do that, like God will bring these opportunities, man. Can you share anything? You can jump on that, but also I want you to share of how like just opportunities have come to you as opposed to you just grinding for them.
I love how you put that word toiling, because you know, tempted and tried, oft made to wonder. We you know, our songs have a lot of toil, and I love that stuff. But I believe now, as I've grown and evolved, that when you're in your lane, you know, Coach Hightower taught us that we ought to be in the accelerated lane. And one thing I've learned as I thought about that over years, when we're in the accelerated lane, you know, when you get to a certain speed, you're not pressing anymore. So when you get in your lane and hit your speed, it's not a toil. And people will see this who never been on a mic and think this is toiling for you. No, you're in your natural state. This is your speed. You're in your lane, so it's not a toil. But you may see somebody else who is painting, and you can't do that, and see that as, oh, this is so hard. No, that's their lane. That's ease. And I believe when we're in that flow and we're in the current, it flows to us. And let me give you a little before I skip, and I don't want y'all to think I just showed up and I'm talking to Dion. But I was when I was in school, in grad school, I was active on Twitter, and if you know me, you know I'm full of useless facts. I know I'm a Jeopardy guy. I know a lot about music, sports, and a lot of stuff that people don't care about. And one time I reached out to a dude whose writing I used to love. Shout out to you, Deshaun Smith. He was writing for Billboard and Revolt, and I inboxed him and I said, "Man, I really like how you think about music." And he said, "Yeah." Out of the blue, he says, "Are you a writer?" I said, "I did some blog stuff here and there for Urban Cuss." Shout out to now Reverend Testafarium, Rahel Testafarium, who gave me my first writing opportunity.
Wow.
And Dr. Andre Johnson, who's the rhetoric and communications professor at Memphis Theological Seminary. If I don't say that and he sees this, he'll kill me. My first opportunity was writing stuff there. And he said, "Are you right? Do you write?" I said, "Yeah, I do." And he said, and I sent him, I said, "But this is more academic stuff and religious stuff." And he read it. And he said, "If you worked on it, you could write more popular stuff about music." So, is that right? I do know a lot about music, even though I'm not a trained journalist. That was my thing. You know, we always run up on that first, when we get an opportunity, the key is how do we navigate that first obstacle? My obstacle was, how am I going to navigate being with these people who went to all these big schools to learn writing?
Yeah.
I didn't know anything about hyperlinking and getting these swords. I didn't know any of that. So I was like, no, I can't do that. But he was like, no, you should try it. And after that was August. That next month I was writing about, remember Bobby Brown and the New Edition was dropping the movies? I wrote a story about how he was like in New Jack Swing and the music as his movies come up. My first professional piece that I got paid for. And that led me to Source, as you read. I was writing about sneakers, and I was in class. That's when they knew I was serious because I brought my laptop to class. They thought I was taking notes for class. I was banging out articles. I don't know. I'm sorry, Elevated Nation, to share that. But I was in class writing articles for the Source and really cutting my teeth, as it were, as a writer. And one thing led to another, and I would pitch, and I must tell y'all, we learned this from Columbus Pollard back in the days. Hurry up and tell me no. I got so many times the pitches I would pitch. The same people who beg me to write stuff for them now and see their clients, they wouldn't even answer my emails and stuff I would have done for free. So I had to years navigate a bunch of no's. And then, when my first professional spot was BET. I'll never forget, I was at a ministers conference in Florida, and my man, who's my mentor now, Jerry Burrow, I was trying to write music for BET. And here's another opportunity. You get an opportunity. Do you have the versatility to be in your field and do something different? He says, no, you can't do music, but you can write about TV and film. That's what I run. I said, sure. My first piece, I talked about George Jefferson. Talking about how we forgot about how funny the Jeffersons were. Yeah. That in 2019 led me to get on staff of BET 2020. Then I wrote for Ebony for 2 years, and BET brought me back to be a staff writer. And all the time I was writing for the Inquirer, always writing about for King Day, writing about theological stuff. I would get offers to do that kind of stuff, talk about sports. And all that took place really from about 2019 till now. So I'll chart my journalistic career to 2019. But all began, man, if I didn't take that brother seriously on that inbox in 2019, that I get this, somebody who sees that you have something to offer.
Yes.
Sometimes what my girl Mel Robbins calls synchronicity. When you're looking for something that you find, when you say when you set your intention, I'm gonna find someone who's gonna give me a smile today in the grocery store that I don't know. And when that happens, that's not happenstance. That's not a coincidence. That's synchronicity. That comes from intention. So when I said I want to do something else, I would say I got to do something else besides pastoring. I didn't have the language to say, man, I want to talk about music. I want to talk about other stuff. I want to talk about stuff that some church people think is not churchy enough. Another obstacle. What's the pastor out here talking to such and such for? My mom didn't think I was legit at all until she saw me talk to 𝐿𝐴 𝐷𝐼. I'm like, dog, I'm doing this for years. Grinding, and you talk to me every day. I'm working, doing these stories, trying to, and then I get 𝐿𝐴s. But you have to navigate through those, and sometimes we let those voices crowd us out. So I just want to encourage somebody, the Elevated Nation folks, when you're on your journey, first you got to believe that you have something to offer when someone says you do. The versatility. Like if I could only preach, I couldn't give a lecture anywhere. I couldn't teach a class. And all this time I used to teach at Eastern University. I was teaching New Testament. And I said yes to it, not because I was a New Testament scholar, but I said yes to it because I believe that you're supposed to walk through open doors. Because if I don't walk through that door, the next black clergy person who has an opportunity to teach can't get through it. We have an assignment to walk through those doors. Howard Thurman says, when you go through doors, don't slam them behind you. Meaning you always got to keep the door open for the next person. So I believe in that. And we got to pay that forward.
Man, look, listen, I usually tell our guests to leave us with something, right? Throughout the week. Bro, I'm not even going to do that, bro. You gave us so much of that, man. Like, Anyway, listen, I've said this before, but I mean this from the bottom of my heart. This is an episode you need to go back and watch again and watch again and watch again and take some notes from there, because what Rashad is dropping is real time. It's how we need to position ourselves in order to move forward. Like, come on, y'all. Like, we've talked and talked and talked, and we got vision and we have insight, but are we really going forward? So we're listening to somebody today who talks, learns, has made adjustments, has fallen, got back up again, and is continuing to do it. It's not where he, I'm sure you got different visions to go to a higher place, but your God has put you in a place, dude, where you're just accomplishing so much. Like, you're relatable, you're real, you're still touchable, still present with your family, still, I mean, it's so much there, like, to really see. So to really tell that story, even like you said, as a Black man, like, this is what we need to see more of and speak about, man. So I thank you, man, for taking this time out with us in Elevation Nation to just share a bit of your story and what you got going on, man. Let us know how we can follow you on social media, what you got going on. So I want everybody to plug in. All right.
I will leave you with this because I am a great preacher, like I said earlier. But I know Ladisha loves that. She loves when I talk like that.
She's shaking her head right now. I'm surprised he didn't say you're welcome, right?
You are welcome, every Elevated Nation. You're welcome. What a pleasure it is for y'all to hear me today. But I just want to say how much y'all inspired me, the Johnsons. I know we were both young and married together, in each other's weddings, in each other's houses, and to see y'all branch out and try everything. You don't know the kind of impact you're having, not only from your audience and social media and us who know you well, but the impact you're having on those kids who don't know anything about limitations. And I think that's true, man. And y'all didn't, any limitations y'all got, you didn't pass off. I said, I want my kids to have different kind of problems. They ain't going to have we don't or we can't problems. They're going to have why not problems.
Yay! So, almost ran.
So I want to say that to y'all. And man, listen, if you're into sports, me and Adam Carter, we do a basketball podcast called Politics as Usual. We just talking and roasting people. So talking about basketball on this Politics as Usual. You can follow me on your social medias at the Groveness, and also our music podcast where we talk about, is the music of our generation still good today? You know, they told us, especially Crystal Maxwell used to tell us how our music sucked. So we argue them in our podcast called Does It Still Knock? Me, Muffy, Sante Love, and Brandy. Check.
Are y'all bringing Crystal on that as a feature?
Doing Marvin Gaye. I said, we ain't doing y'all music. and y'all know I love that music. I said, nah, we gonna defend the stuff we like. We gonna defend all the reggae and dance hall that we grew up with in the 90s, 2000s. That stuff is still hot. Yes. So that's our show there. So man, I love y'all so much, and I couldn't be more honored to share with y'all.
Appreciate you, man. You are amazing. Briz, shout out to you. We love you. Family as well. Yes, we got to do this again, definitely, bro. Elevation Nation, like I said, subscribe, comment. Please follow Rashad on all the social media platforms. Check out the web series, the podcast, everything I got going. His writings, just find him and support. And not only support, learn, man. He got a lot of wisdom and knowledge that we as emerging leaders need in this day. You guys are amazing. If you love this episode, then you got to stick around for what's coming next.